Urantian Artist here. Welcome to the podcast, episode 7 on worship. I would like to begin with paper 5 in the Urantia Revelation. Worship is therefore the act of the material mind's assenting to the attempt of its spiritualizing self under the guidance of the associated spirit to communicate with God as a faith son of the universal Father. The mortal mind consents to worship. The immortal soul craves and initiates worship. The divine adjuster presence conducts such worship in behalf of the mortal mind and the evolving immortal soul. In paper 143, it says, worship is intended to anticipate the better life ahead and then to reflect these new spiritual significances back into the life which now is. Prayer is spiritually sustaining, but worship is divinely creative. Callie, thank you for joining me. Read me the definition of worship.
Thank you for having me, Urantian Artist. The definition for worship in the defined in the dictionary says, to feel an adoring reverence, a high regard to God. Urantian Artist, there was a part I wanted to read you, and it is in paper 143, going through Samaria, and it says that prayer is self-reminding, sublime thinking. Worship is self-forgetting, super thinking. Worship is effortless attention, true and ideal soul rest, a form of restful spiritual exertion.
And Callie, when Jesus was teaching the apostles about prayer and worship at Gilboa, he said that as prayer may be likened to recharging the spiritual batteries of the soul, so worship may be compared to the act of tuning in the soul to catch the universe broadcast of the infinite spirit of the universal Father. During the second preaching tour, Jesus said, "The power of God engenders fear in the heart of man, but the nobility and righteousness of his personality begets reverence, love, and willing worship. I have come into the world to put love in the place of fear, joy in the place of sorrow, confidence in the place of dread, loving service and appreciative worship in the place of slavish bondage and meaningless ceremonies."
Urantian Artist, when I think about worship, I guess I'll just speak a little bit about my personal experience is that when I am worshiping the Father, I think about Him, I guess in His total power, and I think about Him being on paradise. I definitely think about Him as my Father, and I guess that father-child relationship, I think about how happy I am that He's created such a amazing, beautiful, brilliant plan, and He's made it possible that I can be a part of it.
And it's like we feel such gratitude for this opportunity of being born on an earth and having His gift within us. And it's, that leads to a feeling of love for Him and trust in His plan.
It's like an overwhelming feeling of just so gratefulness, like you said, gratitude, and just feeling like, wow, I can't believe He's given us so many gifts.
And there's a place in Rodin where he talks about meditation.
Yeah.
That when Jesus is meditating, that he's taking in power. And
can I read it for you, Urantian Artist?
Yes, read that part.
It's in paper 160, and it says that Jesus has taught us that God lives in man. Then how can we induce man to release these soul-bound powers of divinity and infinity? How shall we induce men to let go of God, that he may spring forth to the refreshment of our souls, while in transit outward, and then to serve the purpose of enlightening, uplifting, and blessing countless other souls? How best can we awaken these latent powers for good which lie dormant in your souls? Of one thing I am sure of. Emotional excitement is not the ideal spiritual stimulus. Excitement does not augment energy, it rather exhausts the powers of both mind and body. Whence then comes the energy to do these great things? Look to your master. Even now he was out in the hills, taking in power, while we are here giving out energy. The secret of all this problem is wrapped up in spiritual communion, in worship. From the human standpoint, it is a question of combined meditation and relaxation.
Okay, now
Meditation makes the contact of mind with spirit. Relaxation determines the capacity for spiritual receptivity, and this interchange of strength for weakness, courage for fear, the will of God for the mind of self, constitutes worship. Urantian Artist, tell us about meditation.
I'd be happy to. Several years ago, one of the dedicated students of the Urantia book sent me an article written by Peter Holley, Holley, and I did the full copy of it on my Urantian Artist website, and also then now I have it in a book that has everything that was on the website in it, and it's called A Urantian Artist Shares, and so it can be found in a book on Kindle from Amazon. Okay, but I'll just read a little bit of it. The Urantia book says about how Jesus prayed and meditated. I have often thought about it, and now Peter's research tells us that the meaning of meditation has changed ever since 1930 when the revelation was given. Jesus' way of meditation is not like the meditation that we hear about in India or the Asian countries. And as you read his research, it will reveal how we are to pray and meditate in our communication with our Father in heaven.
But Urantian Artist, how did Jesus meditate?
Well, in this article by Peter Holley, it says the Urantia book tells us that Jesus meditated a lot. What it doesn't say is that the word meditation has evolved away from its original meaning during the years following the Revelation's final editing in the mid-1930s. Such evolution of words was, of course, anticipated by the revelators, who tell us that the expression of religion must be restated every time the dictionary of human language is revised. Likewise, the meaning of each affected teaching needs to be renewed when necessary. And now the problem with changed words is that they can give us an altered picture if we aren't careful. The fact that Jesus used and taught meditation as a means to communicate with one's thought adjuster makes it vitally important for us to understand what is meant. If, as the Urantia book states in the last page, the great challenge for modern man is to achieve better communication with the divine monitor that dwells within the human mind. Now, the type of meditation often associated with Eastern religion, which requires an altered state of consciousness, had not yet at that time migrated into the dictionary. It became a secondary definition of meditation sometime after Yogananda came to the West and brought about what has been called a religious revolution with the publication of his book, Autobiography of a Yoga, in 1946. In a look at the 1955 Desk Dictionary shows that more intellectually passive type of meditation had not even appeared by the Urantia book's publication date. And then it says, this is not to say, however, that the Buddhism and Hinduism style of meditation was unknown in the mid-30s in the West, or that the word meditation was never used to denote it. It was, but it appears to have needed qualification. Apparently, Buddhism and Hinduism type is what the revelators meant when they referred to mystic meditation. Also, mystic trances, mystic communications, mystic experiences. The root of mystic is a Greek term meaning belonging to secret rites or priests of mysteries, and the word itself is in the middle of the 1930s, referred to things which were secret or obscure. The fact is that Buddhism and Hindu meditators at that time still kept their traditional techniques as highly guarded secrets, passing them on only to followers whom they considered to be qualified to receive them. And their meditative techniques seemed even more mystical because they revolved around altered consciousness and brought about to the West way of thinking extraordinary experiences. And so we are to realize that the meaning of meditation has changed, and it isn't the same as how it was used in Jesus' day. And I hope that you can read the whole article at some point in my website, and it will help you to understand the change that took place in the word meaning.
Thank you for sharing that, Urantian Artist.
Callie, read us 160, where Rodin of Alexandria tells us how Jesus transcended our ideals of worship.
Urantian Artist, in paper 160, it says, the religion of Jesus transcends all our former concepts of the idea of worship, and that he not only portrays his Father as the ideal of infinite reality, but positively declares that this divine source of values and the eternal center of the universe is truly and personally attainable by every mortal creature who chooses to enter the kingdom of heaven on earth, thereby acknowledging the acceptance of sonship with God and the brotherhood of man.
Oh, that is just so beautiful, so reassuring that we, through that experience, we are indicating to our Heavenly Father that we want to have His eternal career after our life here on this earth.
Exactly, great Urantian Artist. It's us saying 100% accepting Heavenly Father's plan, and not just accepting it, but being so happy about it. That's what worship. We're so grateful. We're so happy. We're so blessed. And all of those emotions and all of those personal experiences that we're having, that's uplifting us spiritually and teaching us and adding to that experience and knowledge that life is providing us. I mean,
Yeah.
all of it together culminates, and for me, I believe that's what worship comes to, all those moments.
And then it just makes, if you focus on that, it makes your life joyful, even though we all go through challenges and suffering and pain and various things. But to know those things, it just lifts you so that you can enjoy your life here on earth, because that's the most important gift we can receive.
Absolutely, Urantian Artist. And it's almost by Heavenly Father allowing us to worship Him, we're able to. It also does something for us, in other words, Urantian Artist. It makes us so appreciative. It makes us see all of our blessings, in focus more. It's not so hazy. It's not so blurry. We're thanking Him for so many things, and by doing so, we're recognizing more and more things.
Yes.
All of a sudden, we're thanking Him all day.
Yes.
Isn't that right, Urantian Artist?
That's
all of a
right.
sudden, we're thanking Him for the parking stall that we got, because we're so grateful, because everything around us that happens to us, we see it as a blessing from the Father.
Yes. I desire to end this with some personal words to each of you who have viewed our podcast. Thank you for watching each of the 6 episodes, and to each of you who have left such positive comments. We invite you to each share personal experiences about what helped you to have the experience of worship. Aloha nui loa to all.